All right, welcome back. I'm Billy Liucci.
And I'm Amanda Atwell.
And I think we're both going to be leading the charge of a lot of
moving goalposts. I don't know. I feel like I have a good moving goalpost on you today. Well, I don't know if we're going to call it a moving goalpost. Maybe it's just a retweet or delete. Okay. I feel like it's a pretty good one. But yeah, I feel like there was a little bit back and forth moving goalposts from both fan bases this weekend based on just some record comparisons that we were doing.
It's that time of year, right? It is.
Yeah.
We are tapped out on the talk. We have talked for one calendar year, starting. I mean, it's obviously been for all eternity, but since the last time we played, it was.
Fans have been talking since 2012, even though they didn't play each other for 10 years. So, I mean, the talking never stops, but now the talking actually means something. So,
and this is the beauty of it. This is why we do this. And we are literally, I think, kind of in a way, Amanda, last year at about this time, I would say is when kind of the thought process of like the podcast it wasn't brought up quite yet, but just our interactions are both of us kind of waiting to see how that game went, how Texas had clinched an SEC title berth, and then what you guys did in the playoffs. Just that little, it almost like starting last November 30th when that game ended and you took to Twitter, it was like we were inevitably going to end up doing this podcast from that point on. Here we are.
I don't think you were mentally prepared to start this podcast last year.
No. And I barely was able to withstand you during the summer. So, yeah, having to go through last year, even though A&M had like a good first year under Elko, you guys had the dream season. And the
first season in the Southwest Conference dream season.
Well,
I feel like
Southeastern Conference. We were just talking about the Southwest. Well, show us your shirt, by the way.
Okay, yeah, I decided to wear this since we beat Arkansas this week. It is a 27-time Southwest Conference champions shirt. I got it from Home Field. They sent it to me, so shout out to them. But I figured it was fitting after beating Arkansas this weekend. Very old rivalry, I would say. Now, I got to say that didn't feel like a rivalry game. I think for the younger generation, the hatred just has not quite been renewed. You talk to anybody over the age of 40, 50, I'm sure they'll understand. But there were pictures of the Arkansas cheerleaders taking a picture with Bebo. So
well, that should be completely unacceptable. But I guess cheerleaders are allowed to do that.
Yeah.
No, but listen, we're going to talk Arkansas. We're going to talk, Arkansas, Texas. We're going to briefly talk A&M Sanford, more about like the other storylines around that game, more so than the game. And then we're going to dive into the real fun stuff. And this is like, look, for the second year in a row, when this rivalry, I really wouldn't have thought that the first two meetings would be as meaningful as they're going to be. We'll go down to the reasons why later. But, like, you got to remember, because you were younger, but you were following it then, when A&M and Texas were playing down the stretch in the Big 12, there weren't a lot of games that really mattered to both teams. Texas was coming in under Mac for most of that era. It was the end of the RC era, and then it was pretty much all Mac Brown, even though A&M won a few of them there. I think Sherman won one, Fran won two.
I got to say, growing up as a youth, that was like, obviously wasn't as invested as I am now. And I just kind of like, I watched it with my dad, but I don't really have any memories of losing to A&M, at least significantly. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe that's just the fact that I was young and not paying much attention. I'm intrigued. I want to look up.
I would tell you 05, 06, or no, 06, 07, Stephen McGee and the Aggies won back-to-back. I think Texas was probably top 10 in both of those matchups. So but A&M wasn't really good. So, and then Mike Sherman and A&M went, actually, interestingly enough, the last time these teams, you know how I hate this, and you don't do this, but a lot of Longhorns do it.
Oh, yeah, Aggies you're right, 06, 07. Yeah. And then they won 2010. I do remember that one. I remember that one. So that was my sophomore.
2010 was Tannehill, Von Miller, Cyrus Gray went crazy.
I remember Tannehill's name. There were Aggie fans at my high school that loved Tannehill.
Really?
So.
Interesting. But here's the thing. That game, if I'm doing what the Longhorns do that I hate, and it's not because if Aggies do it too, I don't like it. It's been X number of days since A&M won it, or since Texas beat A&M in Austin. Well, they're on a 1-game losing streak, and they lost to Texas A&M in 2010. They beat them in 28. They haven't played there since. So it's literally been 15
Texas is on a
years.
2-game winning streak for beating
Overall,
A&M.
yeah.
I did just, since I'm looking at it right now, I just want to mention it since it is the week of. Do you want to guess how many times A&M has beat Texas in my lifetime? I'm 32 years old.
Well, let me think about this. It was a 12-year hiatus, so that leaves 20 games, most of which were under Mac Brown. I would say, so roughly 20 games, I would say Texas maybe 16-4, 15-5.
A&M has won 7 times.
Oh, wow. Okay. When you were really young, I think. Because they beat them.
So I think I counted. It's been around 20. So 7 times we've won about 13. So 13, 14.
You came up in the Mac Brown era. And like I said, because
I was born in 93. So 93, 94, my parents were focused on an infant. They didn't have to watch A&M win those 2 years.
Yeah. It's an excuse.
Back at it in 95.
You were the excuse. I like it. But so the situation is this. These last 2 games have mattered a ton. They had not been that way generally for a while down the stretch of the Big 12, and then a 12-year hiatus. So this is what it's supposed to look like. This is why we do this show. This is why people, I think, more and more are watching us and enjoying it. And it helps when both teams have hope. Last year it was Texas that came in here, ranked right near the top of the national rankings. They were a 1-loss team. They were rolling towards the SEC championship game in the playoffs. A&M was like hanging on to hope. They had to win and get in. This year it's kind of flipped. Texas is hanging on to hope, win, and then, we'll talk about the possibilities later. And then A&M's rolling towards the playoffs. And we'll talk about everything that's at stake. But damn, this one really, really matters, I think, to both sides on Friday. So We'll dive into it after a little shout out to your favorite tequila and mine.
Yes, La Casa. They played a role in this week, and we started our day with a little La Casa at 10 a.m., which some might think is too soon, but there's never too soon for tequila when you're on a college football Saturday, in my personal opinion.
Tequila and orange juice, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, a little screwdriver to start the morning.
Mm-hmm. Is that a screwdriver?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought it was
no, tequila. No, that's vodka.
Tequila.
I don't know what tequila and orange juice
soda,
is.
And a splash of orange juice or pineapple. Very, very good. We need to try that with La Casa.
Yes, that does sound nice.
We'll do it Friday. We'll start drinking early for a night game. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to drink that early, or I might not make it to the night game.
It is a night game. It's not 2:30. So La Casa Tequila, our proud sponsor, get you some before the weekend. Sit down with your family on the day after Thanksgiving, eat you some leftovers, settle in, get ready for the Aggies and Longhorns, or bring it with you to Austin like I'll be doing, and we will have some fun at some tailgates, Amanda. So let's dive in real quickly. I didn't do a lot of tailgating this weekend. South Carolina took it out of me, but also it was an 11 a.m. kickoff against Samford.
You didn't want to get hyped for an 11 a.m. kickoff against Samford?
I walked in that stadium at 10:15. I walked right past every tailgate. I pulled up to my parking lot at about 10, and it was beautiful. And
I got to say, it is impressive that many Aggies show up passionate for an 11 a.m. kickoff against Samford, because I don't know of really another fan base in the country that would do that in November, of just being burnt out from all the other games. I mean, there's a lot of good people are going to show up to the game, but how much passion are you going to have when you're pummeling a team like Samford in November?
I was shocked when I walked in, when I watched the stadium fill up. I was very surprised. I knew there'd be a lot of people, but that was a true 105. It wasn't like an empty, how sometimes you'll see the number. They did a great job the last 2 weeks when you're down 30-3 and basically no one leaves, and then to come back the next week and do that. Part of it is they're number 3 in the country and undefeated. The other part, though, is Kyle Field has been terrific this year. It really has. And by the way, DKR
at this point, it might be one of the few games a lot of fans can afford, because if you're doing really well, those tickets get real expensive, which is something I unfortunately learned last year.
Oh, absolutely.
Very different from just giving away tickets for free when we were in the Big 12 and I was in college. Like just trying to offload our tickets because no students wanted to go to the game. Jeez.
Well, let's talk about the game real quick. We'll go over this one pretty quickly because, look, it's Samford. A&M, I guess it was 31-0 at halftime. They got the starters out of there. You know, the key was score early, score often, don't get hurt. And A&M got out healthy. They, again, being up 31-0 was great. And, you know, it was just the defense, I think, gave up right around 20 yards. It was either 20 or 12 yards in the first half, no first downs. They outgained them like 280-12 in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, this is a, 1 in 10 Samford team?
1 in 10. I think I texted you earlier in the game and said, hey, I will give you a little credit here. They're actually worse than Sam Houston.
They're actually really bad. And they did make a really funny TikTok on the way to the game of just them preparing to go. I'm like, at least they have a good attitude because they are about to get freaking destroyed.
I need to check that out. But yeah, it was, you know, I described it as it was a late season scrimmage. It was practice against another team. But knowing what was coming up, they got everybody out of there quickly. And that was probably the two stories where I think, or there are 3 storylines: stayed healthy. Number 2, you know, I think you didn't slop around. I would have hated to see them slop around and just look, you know, like, guys, what did y'all practice this week, or did you mentally take a week off? So they didn't look like that. And then finally, the whole Marcel thing, I think, is probably really interesting, right? He comes out with 5 minutes into the second quarter, so he basically played 20 minutes or so. I think he was 4 drives, 3 touchdown passes. Beautiful throw to Ashton Bethel Roman for that 3rd touchdown, a deep ball. And they took him out up by, I guess it was it 20? I think they took him out 28-0.
And who is your backup? I don't even know who your backup is.
Miles O'Neal is the first one off the bench. And then comes Brady Hart, the true freshman, who I'm pretty damn high on. Miles O'Neal, too. They both throw beautiful passes, beautiful ball.
And how old is Marcel?
Marcel's a junior. He's in year 3.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm sorry. Marcel's a 3rd-year sophomore.
Okay.
He played in the bowl game in year 1, redshirted. So he's got 2 years of eligibility. But, you know, he technically could go to the NFL this year, but he's got another year, I think, to really help
I wouldn't think he goes to the NFL this year.
I wouldn't either. I think he'd come back and be – hell, just as a sidebar, you know I've been pushing the – tap breaks on Arch from the whole summer, early in the season, and I'm watching him grow and grow. This could be a Heisman race preview for next year. You know, nobody's going to talk about
that. We'll get into it in a minute, but like, what a game from watching it real time. It was so nice. You felt, even other fan bases, you had to feel bad for him at some point with just the level of flack he was getting from the just undeserved pressure he was put on that was really incomparable to the name on his back, obviously. And then the second he has an off game on the road against Ohio State, obviously rattled, obviously just didn't have a good game. Oh, he's a flop. Biggest flop in college football. Just the immediate, like, hyper cold to hot with him. It's just, you gotta, and he's been really good at just like shutting out the noise and focusing on improving himself, which is what you have to do. The best thing you can do in that scenario.
Well, and I think that's what I've been impressed with how he's handled it. I still think people are way too quick to anoint him, but I can watch. You know, like I'm saying, like y'all's fans in the media tend to oh my God, oh my God. But to me, I'm just like, I'm seeing steady natural growth of a really talented young SEC quarterback. And I kind of said it just a minute ago. If you wanted to present the conversation that, hey, we might see two, we're going to be watching a couple of top 10 Heisman contenders for next year this Friday at DKR, I would agree with that. And I think that's the natural progression. And now I'm looking at a guy. You want to hear something crazy? And this, I'm not making any case for Arch this year as a Heisman.
Well, before you say that, I before the season would always have been on the boat. One, I didn't think he was going to the NFL. Two, I thought not a Heisman. Like maybe he'll be in the Heisman discussion at the end of the season, but I don't think he's winning the Heisman this year.
Yeah,
I would think he would have a much better chance of winning it next year, just because unless he was just some phenom out of the gate, which I didn't really have enough to see. I wasn't one that was sitting here preseason number one.
Yeah.
SEC. I threw him in there for number 3, I think, because I didn't really know else who to put in there at that point.
I think I had him at 4 or 5. I'm not.
So many of them were unproven that there was just not much. I mean, everybody had Nussmeier up there. So at least the analysis on Arch has been a little bit better than on Nussmeier.
So their numbers are remarkably similar. Marcel, 3147 total yards, 31 TDs. Arch, 2954 total yards, 30 total TDs. Passing, Marcel, 2752. Arch, 2763. They're literally within 9 yards.
They are really close.
Touchdowns, 23 for Marcel, 25 for Marcel passing, 23 for Arch. Interceptions, 8 for Marcel, 7 for Arch. Numbers are very similar. Marcel has had A, his team's undefeated, and B, he's had the kind of that Heisman moment at Notre Dame. They both had a big comeback that you can check the box. That's both massive comebacks.
Niblett was a big part of that comeback for Mississippi State. I think he kind of took the shine on that one.
But you
don't get it without Arch.
Yeah. So both of them engineered pretty remarkable SEC comebacks. But yeah, Marcel with that undefeated team and that Heisman moment there in South Bend, I think to win it. So get back to the discussion here before we wrap up A&M was Marcel, right? I agreed with taking him out when you did. Could you imagine, Amanda, and I know there's a Heisman at stake, you don't win the Heisman against Samford. And I have people tell me, they go, well, every touchdown counts. There are a lot of people that don't watch the games and they just look at the stats. And I go, fine. So you're going to leave him in. If he threw 6 touchdowns against Samford, everybody in the country today would have called it stat padding. Forget that Mendoza did that against garbage team earlier in the year.
And guess who else did it this weekend? Diego Pavia. There's video of him on the sideline asking Clark Lee to go back in so he can. And then his mom striking the Heisman pose in the stadium.
Oh, he could have gone the whole show without bringing up his mom in that pose, but you just went there.
Well, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Your son goes back into stat pad because you want him to be a Heisman contender, which of course, a mother wants her son to be a Heisman contender. It's just, I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way.
Here's
the way of him demanding to his coach, I want to go back in so I can put up these numbers for the Heisman.
So I like the way,
that rubs me the wrong way.
It rubs me wrong too. I like the way that Marcel or that Elko did it.
I literally, after I saw that, I was like, I know they're our rival. I'd rather Marcel Reed win the Heisman after seeing that from Diego Pavia.
Yeah.
It's just an attitude thing. I'd rather see Marcel win it.
And look, here's the deal. At the end of the day, you're not winning the Heisman against Samford. And if Marcel Reed wins the Heisman Trophy, there's one thing that I'm almost positive about. He is going to go into Austin and go beat the Texas Longhorns at DKR with the whole world watching on Friday, the whole college football world. And then he's going to go to Atlanta and knock off Alabama or Georgia. That's his path to win that trophy.
It's a steep path. It's not going to be easy.
No.
Even if you beat Texas, Georgia.
It'll probably be Bama. Bama would have to lose to Auburn.
Head-to-head.
But look, Amanda, here's the deal. It is a steep path, and that's his advantage. The other one that has that same advantage is Julian Sayin. with Michigan and then Indiana. Marcel would have Texas and then Bama. Both of them could win a conference championship, one in the Big Ten, the other in the SEC. So those are the two guys with the real, and I guess Mendoza too, but he's only got one shot because they're playing Purdue this week.
Yeah.
If Marcel is positioned, I don't think by any stretch he's like the front runner right now, but he is sitting there in the race with 2 games left until that trophy's handed out. And I just think what he can accomplish, and like you said, both are massive hurdles. But if he is to win the Heisman, his path is very clear to me. It is beat the Texas Longhorns and go win the SEC title. A&M's first SEC title. 13-0 when you're picked 8-4, 7-5. And then how many quarterbacks can sit there at the end of the year that he's competing against and say, I beat Notre Dame in South Bend. I beat LSU in Death Valley with the whole country watching because LSU was ranked high at the time. I have a walk-off.
I like that clarification you had to make at the end there.
But it matters because when that game was played, right, like everyone was watching. Everyone thought it was a tough game for A&M.
They've just been defeated at this point.
They're
they
broken.
Just play defeated at this point.
They're broken. Yeah, they really do. They almost lost to Western Kentucky. But
yeah, I hope they put it all together this weekend, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah,
I think
it doesn't look like it.
That's a steep dream.
They're going to have a hard time scoring. But, yeah, so listen, beat Notre Dame in South Bend on a walk-off, essentially. Beat LSU in Death Valley at night. Beat Texas at DKR, and then go beat Alabama in the SEC title game. That's unbelievable stuff. In fairness, he's halfway there. You're 50% there. There's a long road. But so my point of all that, Samford doesn't matter. Get him out of there because you know how he's not winning it. And you know how Texas A&M's not doing anything is if you'd have got Marcel Reed hurt by some Sanford Bulldog. I was about
to say, if you got him hurt on some stupid play.
Up 28-0 with a Sanford guy playing hero ball. Yeah, so anywho, that was about it for me. I just wanted to wrap it up by asking you on the A&M side because Sark commented about it again today.
Yeah.
He's talking about essentially trying to get his starters out of there as early as he could, which was, some point in the fourth quarter. Because we actually had to play an opponent this week. We didn't have a cupcake game. Not my words.
Well, I mean, it's true. Most SEC teams were playing their cupcakes this week, and that's a thing. I don't agree with Sark on this. I'm not sure. I don't know the intricacies into going of how you set your schedules and where you place your cupcakes throughout the season. And I'm sure it's more complex than I know of. But I have always been on the standpoint of I don't like blaming schedules for results.
Yeah,
I don't like I feel like you're going to win when it matters and you're going to prove it when it matters if you're supposed to be where you are. And then I personally feel like it seems like it'd be easier to have those early season games that are easy to figure out what the hell you're doing before as to just having them as basically an additional bye week late in the season. I think you can make arguments for both, which are better. And I guess Sark is of the opinion that he would rather have another chill game before going into playing an A&M. I think you could argue it both ways.
Yeah, I do too.
Both ways. I disagree. It does kind of annoy me. Why are we bringing this up anymore? It doesn't matter. It is what it is. Schedules are what they are. But I do think it is good that Texas was able to pull away in the second half to where the garbage time touchdown didn't matter. And you could put in some of those backups. And for everyone who is calling for Matthew Caldwell, I mean, I think Arch Manning's proven that he is the starter for a reason.
Man, imagine if they'd have got what they wish. I would say a percentage of the Texas fan base. I wouldn't say a large percentage, but there was a very vocal percentage that wanted to see what Caldwell could do.
I got a lot of them bookmarked.
Had he played against Vandy, you don't win that football game. Arch played a really good game in that one, especially early.
I have more of my own fans bookmarked this year than I do everything else because I got to say, for those that are watching, I'm sure a lot of the ones watching are not like this.
Yeah.
But the fan base has pissed me off more than just about any time at any previous point that I have seen. Just the flakiness and the immediately going to attacking your own players. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's insane, and
I've been
it's
there.
why a lot of people criticize this fan base, because just one bad game and you're throwing everything out the door. Just a bunch of unnecessary criticism directed at players specifically, and just a bunch of, I don't know, nastiness online. And
Yeah.
it's really pissed me off this season. I've bookmarked a lot of them, and I've had to block a lot of them. So for all the Aggies that are like, oh, you blocked me, if I block you, there's a reason why. You've said something completely out of line. I don't want that engagement on my page, and I feel like you feel the same exact way. You don't want that kind of engagement, that kind of gross engagement. But I've gotten it a lot from the Longhorns just for saying, hey, why don't we tap the brakes, give him some time? And I think the coach knows who the starter should be, and he's not in here just throwing games because he wants to keep our chin.
My final take on the whole bye week, blah blah blah, because it's always a hot topic this time of year every year. Here's my thing: everybody in the SEC generally plays 3 complete cupcakes.
I was about to say everybody has the same number, so why does it matter where it is?
The difference is, do you do like Texas and A&M have done the last 2 years, and going back further, and play Michigan and Ohio State and Notre Dame twice, or do you add a 4th relative cupcake? Are you like Lane Kiffin and you play Wake Forest as your big game? So, everybody in that conference, in this conference, because you're in it now too, in this conference, does it. The question is, how good is that one team? Credit OU, they played Michigan. Credit LSU, they played Clemson before we knew what Clemson was. So some of these teams do not. Hell, credit Arkansas. Arkansas played Notre Dame and Memphis even. So everyone does it. It's just, when is the game? The Big Ten, for Dan Lanning to say shit about it when he's been in the SEC and he's quoted as talking about how tough it is. Now he's at Oregon. You haven't played. I think they've played 2 teams all year with a winning record, not counting an FCS team in I think it's North Dakota maybe, or Montana State, whoever it was. There's so much hypocrisy. And you go look at Indiana's non-conference schedule, it's humiliatingly bad. And if you say, well, we played 9 conference games, look at some of those conference teams you're playing. Rutgers, Maryland, who else in that league that's so bad, right? I'm just thinking of the Wisconsin's
I think all
terrible.
of the people who watch this show know how bad the lower half of the Big Ten is. I don't think you have to go into
and so
much.
And so here's the other thing that I would say to the Sark thing. While Florida was playing USF, Miami, and LSU, you guys played those 3 after Ohio State. So it always, and then when A&M was playing in week 2, Notre Dame was sitting on a bye, getting ready for A&M to come to set. So there's always something in there that doesn't work well for you. And, for you, meaning me, you, all of our schools.
Everybody's handed a short stick at some point, and you just got to deal with it.
Yeah. So let's move on. You guys had the big stick broke out at DKR in the second half Saturday night. Just really a close game that had all of our attention.
Well, I mean, I gotta say, even in the first half, I didn't feel like it was going to be a close game.
I didn't either.
I watched the defense hold, like they gave up some explosive plays, but they were still able to hold Arkansas to field goals.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I mean, if you go back and forth and Arkansas is getting a field goal on every drive and Texas is getting a touchdown on every drive, I know how this game's going to turn out, and it's not going to be close.
Was it 24-20 at the half, I think?
Yes, I believe. And I think Sark's decision to not go for it there and to just take the field goal, that should be seen as great personal growth from Sark, because I don't think last year Sark would have done the same thing, but it feels a whole lot different going into halftime 24-20 versus 21-20.
And with the ball.
Coming out. It's way more defeating to not get any points versus getting something on the board, which is something I feel like we've talked about it on Texas football a lot this year. Like, yes, sometimes you want to go for that 4th down conversion, but I think there's certain moments where it's like, and especially now that you have a kicker you can rely on.
Yeah.
Last year, I understand not wanting to rely on Bert Auburn too much, but this year you have one you can rely on.
I think I texted you saying, as much as y'all are moving the ball, it's about to be 31-20.
Yeah, and I just felt like going into halftime, it felt like they were going to make those adjustments necessary, and the offense was playing so well, and the offense was bailing out the defense in the first half. The offense was clicking. I wasn't too worried going into the second half. I was having a great time. The Arkansas fans around us were not having a great time, but we were having a great time.
And I was so looking forward to it, that 11 a.m. game. I was looking forward to a fourth quarter Texas struggle and paying you and your sidekick, Peyton, who you were sitting with at the game. I was like, this is going to be a beautiful afternoon of payback.
Sorry to spoil your Saturday.
Yeah, and then, here comes Arkansas to spoil it.
Instead, you get us getting a touchdown and tossing the ball into Bevo and him jumping in the air. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. What were they trying to do? Bevo. How are you going to upset a bull?
No, I was like,
not
that.
A bull. I'm sorry.
And then even Michael Tapp after the game was like, yeah, that's not cool. I'm a Silver Spur. You can't scare Bevo like that.
No, it was nuts.
But it was funny. It was a lot of fun. I think, obviously, the most impressive part for everyone was Arch Manning. And just, I think the biggest difference here is you can just watch the pocket. The pocket looks so much cleaner than it did against Kentucky, than it did against Mississippi State, than it did against Ohio State. It looks night and day difference. And against Florida, I think the worst game for the offensive line was against Florida. That was a nightmare. And that was the only reason Texas came back in that game was because of Arch. But just night and day, they finally figured out what works on the O-line. I think the biggest problem early on was they kept on changing who was playing center, and the busted coverage was coming up center or through that left guard position.
Yeah. If it's coming up the middle, you're done as a quarterback.
Yeah. And they're healthy. He's confident in having time. And even when he does get pressure, I don't know if you noticed just him being able to escape the pressure the way he does and throw on the run. And just a couple of his really impressive throws, just threading it through 3 Arkansas defenders into the back of the end zone. Right after he escaped the defenders, and then everybody thought he was going to run it himself to the end zone. No, instead he threads it through a bunch of defenders. So I think that has a lot of Texas fans feeling, I'm not going to say overly confident going into A&M, because I think that would be not smart, but feeling better about going into A&M, having it at home, feeling better that you have a confident quarterback, because the biggest thing for him is confidence, which you could tell he was very, very rattled at the beginning of the season. So confidence should go a far way. I will say, as far as the defense goes, it did seem like they were sleeping at the wheel a little bit again, and which is wild, because we also talked about this on my On Texas Football live stream. Nobody really has an answer for why the defense looks like what it does. There's no real reason why it looks like what it does. It could be because the secondary is a little bit younger, but there's no real reason. There's no real excuse. Is it the energy? I will say this is the first game I've gone to since Texas played OU. And if you want to talk about energy in a stadium, it is night and day difference at DKR versus the Texas OU game. Yeah. At DKR versus an opponent that the fans aren't quite as pumped about playing. You can call the Section 28 was wine and cheese opponents. I'm sorry. Really? They pissed me off. It wasn't great, but I don't think that's going to be the case during A&M. That's just a game that the fan base does get up for.
So I want to ask you a couple things. Well, I know what you're going to say, because I think we're going to agree. I think the O-line is, for all the reasons you said, noticeably better, and it's been the reason why Arch has been able to put up the numbers he has, get more in sync with his receivers. I want to clarify,
is it elite? I don't think so, but it's good enough to help him out the way they need to help him out.
Here's my one contention to that. It's been good enough. It wasn't good enough at Georgia, because they only, they had moments, but they still only scored 1 touchdown. Yep. The question is, will it be good enough? And it's TBD. I'm not saying it can't be. I'm not. But they're going to have to hold up against, I'm looking at sacks nationally. 2 teams ranked number 2 and 3. A&M at 2, Texas at 3. Which is, I want to talk about the Texas defense about that in a second, because they are getting to the quarterback. Tackles for loss, Texas a respectable 23rd, A&M 2nd. So what the Aggies have done to opposing offensive lines is they've won. They have forced teams to they've forced teams to play behind the chains with the TFLs, and they've gotten to the quarterback. So this will be, honestly, I know you don't believe this. You might believe it. I think this will be one of it's up there with Ohio State as the toughest test for this Longhorn O-line this year, even
I think
more
it's
so
by
than
far
Georgia.
one of the toughest tests. Just environment in general, even if A&M's defense was ranked lower than what it is, I think it would be one of, if not the toughest test for Texas, because this is going to be a game where both teams are going to play their absolute best.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be.
But I just think if you're saying, like, who's the best defensive fronts as far as getting to the quarterback, which is, to me, when they're getting to Arch, it's a struggle for the whole offense. When they're, and this is kind of common sense too, it's any quarterback, but when he's got a clean pocket, that dude's a surgeon. Short, down the field, over the top. I've seen
or
it.
Even if when he escapes the pocket,
When he escapes, yep.
Throwing on the run is probably what he does best, honestly. He is insane at throwing on the run. He makes and also he's a great receiver, we learned this weekend.
That was a hell of a catch.
The first SEC quarterback to have a passing, rushing, and receiving touchdown in a single game since Dak Prescott. So pretty impressive there. And the first one in Texas Longhorn history.
That's a lot of football. So here's the deal. That's one of my really key matchups of that football game is how does the Texas O-line stand up against the A&M pressure, and can Texas run the ball a little bit? Why did Texas win here last year? The biggest reason outside of that defense was Wisner in that running game and that O-line. So I'd
be intrigued if they try to utilize Niblett more in the run game. That could be, he could be more threatening than Wisner as long as Texas can keep it clean and not hold like they've loved to do on.
I think Wisner's shown what he can do. I think it's the blocking. Like, can they block? And then in the case of A&M, they were embarrassed here in the trenches last year. You know it. You talked about it. You rubbed it in my face. I admitted it. There was no denying it. Elko admitted it himself after the game. Yeah, that O-line has been arguably the best in the country this year.
Oh, they're great.
They got to go down to Austin with a massive chip on their shoulder and say, hey, we're going to be more physical than you this year. So that running game battle both ways fascinates me. For Friday, and we're going to talk a lot more about it this week. But man, that is the A&M O-line versus Colin Simmons and the Texas D-line is, to me, that is the two matchups of the game are just it's a line of scrimmage. Texas dominated it last year.
Wisner looked a bit better against Arkansas in the run game. 67 run yards versus 37 at Georgia. Still not enough.
No, but you didn't have to. You didn't really have to commit to that.
Yeah, you didn't really need it, and it was working better over the top, so why not?
No, I agree with that. Let's talk about the defense, Amanda, because like, what's your level? And I know there was no Anthill, and you know me. I think he's a great freaking player. Great college football player, going to be a long-time pro. So there's no way to pretend that's not a big deal. And he'll be back this week. What's your concern on the yards and points that this group keeps allowing? And I know that the vibe I get from a lot of and again, you and I talk directly, but like I see what's said, I read what's said. The vibe I get is that a lot of Texas people think this offense is last year's A&M offense. You and I and everybody that's following it knows it's not. It's a really good offense that can run, that can throw, with a really good quarterback and receivers.
Well, I think a lot of people have woken up to the fact that it's not last year's A&M offense. I do think the first half against South Carolina probably threw a lot of question marks. The comeback was great, but you can't just ignore that first half and act like it didn't happen because, those mistakes could come back up. Yeah. But I feel like just based on the overall body of work, there's a lot of clueless people that watch college football, so you can't really excuse that. The one thing with
where are you at on Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
My concern with the Texas defense would be the over the top, over the middle passes. That's my concern. I'm not as concerned about the run defense because, I mean, A&M has a decent running back in Reuben Owens. Is Moss going to be back? Is it still iffy?
That's TBD. And Owen sat this week. I don't think he'll be a problem coming back. EJ Smith sat this week. So they should be healthy. Le'Veon is an interesting one because they've always targeted this game. But every time I've really, done my due diligence, it's been, if it's not Texas, it'll definitely be either, Atlanta or, back then it was
and
like
at this
first
point, you're going to the playoffs. Period. And I know this is a pride game. You want to win it.
He has to be 100%.
Do you want to rush him back? Like, I think it happened with CJ Baxter where it felt like they rushed him back too soon. He pulls a hamstring.
Yeah, no.
And you don't want that and put him out through all of the playoffs, pending how long that goes on.
It'd be a very interesting thing if you got Owens back, because Owens has been very effective. He hasn't been, as explosive as Le'Veon tends to be, but I don't. This is just me talking, but whether you win or lose to Texas, the SEC title game's next week. Could you just save Le'Veon for the playoffs and have a healthy NFL running back? And I'm just saying. So it'll be interesting in the next couple of days when we get that first injury report.
I think the Texas defense just needs to figure out how to be a little bit more disruptive in the secondary than they have been. They have to get to Marcel Reed. They have to make him uncomfortable. They have to make him off throw and just be more disruptive in the secondary because these are probably the best receivers since Ohio State. Georgia has a lot of great receivers. They're some of the best receivers that Texas will have faced all season. Yeah. So I think the key to the defense is because that is where they have been lacking. They haven't been as disruptive since I think the OU game. 3 interceptions against John Mateer. And really not, they did have a strip. Was that an interception? I think it was strip sack and then return for a touchdown and then an interception this week. So that's probably the most disruptive they've been, but still they were exposed through the first half. I would like Texas. I wouldn't mind if Texas got exposed through the first half rather than making us sweat it out at the end.
Yeah.
They did against Vanderbilt. But, so I think just being the Texas secondary we're used to, I think the Michael Taff injury had a greater impact than we hoped it would because Taff has, if you go back and watch just the Arkansas version of the highlights, there were so many missed tackles from Michael Taff. And I know he'll be hard on himself about those. That's just how he is. But he just didn't look quite like you expect Michael Taff to look. So fixing that, also a big issue. Got to wrap up. Can't be missing the tackles that this Texas defense is known to make.
Man,
so
I think, and this again, it just is what it is. I think that they're getting after the quarterback. They're 8th in the country in run defense. They've played some teams that can really run the football. Obviously with Hill.
You've played Ohio State, Georgia. You've played teams that can run the football pretty dang well.
No question. But then I look, and here's the jump out thing, and this is massive to me, is they are 107th against the pass. And I know there's more advanced metrics and stuff, but there's two things. They're 107th against the pass, and I'm watching the games. It is night and day, different, 23rd tackles for loss. Everything's respectable, and then or really good, either one. And then there's that pass defense. So yeah, it's obviously a weakness, and man, it's Makuba and Jade Barron. They must have lost that much. Those guys were really good. They're both playing a ton, if not starting in the NFL right now.
Yeah,
that'll be the matchup because I don't think Texas's DBs can contain the A&M receiving core over 4 quarters if they're not getting pressure on Marcel. So they have
I'm not
to do that.
concerned about getting pressure on Marcel.
They have
That's one thing I'm not concerned about. So that has to happen.
Well, remember.
As long as Anthony Hill can be relatively
just
healthy.
like Arch, just like you're saying, Arch. Both these quarterbacks are really good at extending plays too. Yeah. So both teams have a lot to worry about in terms of I think the QB position and the over-the-top passes when they break contain or extend plays. That'll be a key matchup.
But one thing Arch has been really good at is not turning the ball over recently.
He has.
I will say. And Marcel hasn't been too bad about it.
Mm-hmm. He had that woeful first half against South Carolina that you talked about. And he did throw 2 picks in the first half.
How many interceptions did he have? 2? I thought he only
had 2, but it felt like, I mean, there were a couple of drops. There were a couple drops for sure.
There were a lot of drops that were on the receivers, and there were some dirt balls that I was like, did somebody give him a shot of tequila before this game?
La Casa. All right, let's do this. Let's do this because we kind of talked a little bit about this. We have the matchup down here. We've done a lot of this. Let's just talk about something for a second. Like, what's at stake? It is very meaningful, right? And we talked about it's kind of flipped from last year. First and foremost, it ain't just me and you that bicker and have our fun fights over this stuff and sometimes get heated.
And most people's fights aren't very fun.
Yeah, it's true.
Not this fun.
We laugh a lot more. But, yeah, so this is it. First and foremost, it's pride. This is a heated rivalry. It is the state's, like the state of Texas, when people say, tell me about sports in Texas. Okay, we'll tell you about the Dallas Cowboys, probably the San Antonio Spurs, and we'll tell you about A&M Texas. Like it might be.
Wait, you better hope that the Texas Tech people aren't watching this podcast.
I'm sorry, I know, but that is they.
Maybe we'll clip this one and post it just for them.
And yeah, and that we'll talk to them in a minute too. They know it. It is Texas A&M Texas and probably the Dallas Cowboys. Like when you say, tell me about sports in Texas and Friday Night Lights. Those are the big 3 as far as I'm concerned. This state. It is a pride thing. It's a rivalry like no other. It's meant something significant since it's come back. The SEC, so now it's being played out on the SEC stage on top of it. But so that's number one. But damn, for the Aggies, you have this stuff matters. I know people can go, well, if we lose, we'll still get to host a playoff. Yeah, I get it. But if you lose to Texas and you have a perfect regular season at stake, that doesn't happen often. The national champs last year.
Never happens.
Yeah, the national champs last year lost, what did they lose? Did they lose 2 games in the regular season?
They lost 2.
Yeah. Yeah, they lost to Oregon and Michigan. Texas was a great team last year. They lost 1 game in the regular season.
And then the conference championship.
Yeah, it is Georgia was a great team last year. They lost that shootout at Alabama. So you have a chance for a perfect regular season, which is very rare. It would be historic for A&M. Going to Atlanta, which they have not done in 14 years, and having a chance to win their first ever SEC title, first conference title since 98. And you just do not want to let your rival, the Longhorns, Atwell over here, every other Texas fan that you work with, are friends with, live with, all of the above. You don't want to let them take all of that from you. So that's what's at stake.
You don't want to let us have the rivalry trifecta this year.
Yeah.
Once again. We had the rivalry trifecta last year, which was very nice.
And that's what's at stake for y'all, part of it. And then there's pride, there's spoiling, not everything for A&M, but spoiling a lot of their stuff, especially a perfect season. There's building more momentum than you already have in this head-to-head rivalry. And like you just said, there is, hey, if you, any year that you beat OU, Arkansas, and A&M, I mean, that's a huge feather. So, and the big thing for the Aggies too, guess what? You got a Heisman contender going in there with 2 games left. Again, you don't think Colin Simmons wants to take that away? You don't think...
Oh, Colin Simmons is eyeing Marcel just like he was eyeing Diego Pavia.
Yeah, and then Marcel they're eyeing that Texas secondary. Like let us get to them. There's so much on the line for both teams, and Texas has flickering, but still flickering, playoff hopes.
I don't think many of us have playoff hopes right now. I don't really care about the playoffs at this point, honestly, because I'm just convinced that they're not in it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know what?
You're refusing to have any hope.
Sure.
You're
I'll be
a realist.
pleasantly surprised if we're in it. I don't think that's that's going to happen right now. So I guess we'll settle for whatever bowl game we get. But you know what? If you cap the season off with a win over A&M, energy feels a whole lot different going into next season.
That's true. And a lot of times the teams that have good seasons ended with a whole lot of momentum.
I mean, A&M had their 9-3 season where they were left out of the playoffs last year. Not A&M.
I wish we were 8.
Alabama.
9. Okay, I was about to say I wish we were 9-3.
Alabama. I was like, wait, wrong A team. Alabama had their 9-3 season. I almost gave y'all an extra win last.
I was like, wait,
you just not corrected me.
How many times I've heard 8-4? Oh yeah, that's another sidebar.
Yeah, Texas does not want to be the new 8-4. Well, the thing is, I tried to tell you, it doesn't. The only reason people pulled up Texas A&M 8-4 is because y'all have the and.
I know it's just so. It would just be fun. It would be for fun.
Yeah.
But okay, so there's a ton going on. The Aggies. Here's the deal, Amanda. A&M. You sent me that. You saw that tweet that A&M football put out yesterday for Senior Day. There are a couple guys on that list that may come back. You know, this is the era of NIL.
I was about to say somebody posted. Maybe it was Rob that posted that A&M might lose 15 starters. Yeah. I didn't double check that, so maybe you did.
Torian York ran out. He could come back. He does it just in case he goes pro. There were a couple guys that could come back, but the point being, I forget the exact number. They're going to lose a lot of starters after this year.
It'll be y'all's can you reload versus rebuild test. The same test that Texas had this year, and it's pretty obvious that Sark did not reload correctly in the areas. There's some areas where, you know what, he did a decent job, but there's a lot of areas that have really just he did a wrong assessment somewhere, and he needs to rectify that going into next season.
I have a feeling you're going to have some high points the rest of this show, but I just want to ask you one question. How many times, if you just spitballed here, how often do I say the words, "You were right, Amanda"? Pretty
good bit,
right? Like I'm quick to say it. I'm always ready to give.
I'll say you were right about the questioning whether or not he. Well, the thing is, we didn't know if he could do it yet, so I was happily optimistic that he should know what it takes to reload in the SEC because he was an offensive coordinator for a team that reloaded constantly. So he should know what it takes, but he didn't do that this year. So, and of course, we're going to be pleasantly optimistic until we see the fact that,
no doubt.
I mean, you're just lying to yourself if you think he reloaded the way he should.
If I was in your shoes or the Texas fan shoes, I would have been very optimistic based on what I'd seen the last couple of years.
Yep.
I was looking at it, and sometimes you can do this. It's a combination of kind of your wish casting, right? But you're also looking at it, same thing you say to me. You take off a certain tinge glasses, and it's not blind optimism. It's just, hey, I'm optimistic about it because I'm seeing this and I believe this. But I thought it was going to be really difficult to just snap fingers and bounce back. I thought it was going to be,
especially in the NIL portal era that we're in right now.
Yeah,
and I think that's one thing he needs to adjust because he's repeated time and time again. He wants to build from within the program and focus on getting people into the culture early and building on that. But you got to utilize the portal and you got to balance it. Yes, those players are important, but I think he needs to prioritize the portal in key areas a little bit better, and hopefully it pays off.
So, not a top 10 defense. I hope we don't see a top 10 defense Friday night. When I say this,
I mean, they played top 10 defense quarters.
Yeah, I promise you I'm not.
They played a top 10 defense game against OU.
Yeah,
and so that's what I was going off of after our argument. Who would have a reason to question that defense?
You eviscerated me, obliterated, whatever word you want to use, this summer when I said it too. Defense, and by the way, I'm not stupid. I know they can play top 10 level in one game. They're a good defense. They're a really good defense. They're not elite. And that was my thing. And I thought Arch was going to need time. Like, I kind of nailed both these teams this year. And I'm going to tell you this, is if we do this long enough, I don't always do that. So I
Yeah, we
admit I
found a
don't
lot of
always.
cases where you don't nail it, so I think you deserved a couple wins eventually.
What'd you do last week?
We can give you your snaps today. You deserved your
Okay.
wins after years of getting it wrong.
It
I will
doesn't.
say
It won't feel
you did
good
get
though unless we win Friday. But go
you
ahead.
did get something wrong about the game Texas played this week.
Which was me picking.
We
on.
finally had a retweet or delete we can bring up about the Arkansas head coach.
Yeah, we can put this one to
That
bed.
was one of your worst aged ones. So, but if that's going to be your worst aged ones, I'm sure you're not too mad about that one.
For the year compared to what you did to me last year, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Feeling a little better.
I always said I needed the team to do better to back me
That's
up.
what we said.
But
And they're
also-
helping you out. So
And also, there has been some lessons learned along the way where I have
don't
dialed
just
back.
talk out of your you know what as
Yeah.
much as you previously did.
And
so
here we are. We are.
personal growth here.
It is harder for you to acquire the bookmarks, although you did have a couple moments.
I don't know. You hide some of those in replies, and
Yeah, that's true.
you think we won't see them because they're in the replies.
I'll get caught sometimes though. If anyone's going to find them, it's you. But all right, the matchup. Look, this is what we talked about, right? We talked about line of scrimmage. We talked about Marcel versus Arch. Here's another one. How about the SEC sack chase? Cassius Howell and Colin Simmons. Another cool little.
Wait, is Cassius
sidebar.
Howell graduating?
Yeah,
Y'all
yeah.
look at him?
Cassius Howell probably be a first round pick.
Thank
is what
God.
everybody says. Yeah, he's had a year. I hate that he didn't.
I think I saw him on the graphic and I was like, yes.
Well, and the other thing that sucks, well, Cassius and a lot of O linemen, and that was the other thing I was going to say. Texas A&M needs to get everything they can this year, whether it's beating Texas, whether it's 12-0, whether it's an SEC title, whether it's a deep playoff run. It's obviously going to be the playoff berth. They need all of this because they're going to lose a lot. And when you have that experienced team is when you try to go win it. That's what Notre Dame did last year. That's what Texas did last year. You make your run. And that was my other thing about A&M and Texas this year is the Aggies loaded up, and nobody outside of College Station, and to be frank with you, Amanda, a lot of people that I talk to day to day didn't understand, like, Elko put a lot of his NIL efforts. Yeah, there's Craver and Concepcion, and no one talks about Tyler Onyedem, who's playing his butt off at D-tackle. No one talks about Nate Borkacher, who's been, I think, dollar for dollar, probably one of the best portal additions in college football in terms of, like, hype versus what he's meant. But you look at this A&M team, Elko put a lot of NIL effort into keeping guys from going pro and being 4th, 5th, 6th round picks.
Yeah.
Not the first rounders, but those 4th, 5th, 6th rounders say, hey, come back, be a part of something special, and hopefully make yourself more money along the way, both here and at the NFL. And they did that. Well, you're going to lose a ton of that this year, so go out and win while you can. And experience does matter.
I think a lot of the reason people like underestimated A&M, one, before the season started and even through the first half of the season, is because before the season started, they hadn't seen those pieces put together yet.
Yeah, for sure.
They hadn't seen Marcel Reed be able to string together these level of wins. Mm-hmm. They hadn't seen these receivers meshing with him. There was just a lot yet to be seen. And so I think it's just, a lot of people who don't analyze this on a day-to-day basis, even like those that do analyze it on a day-to-day basis, you got to see it in action before you believe it. And I feel like at this point, if you're still not believing it, you might want to go to an eye doctor appointment. So. Yeah.
I mean, look, they got to finish it off. Like you said, there's a huge hurdle in Austin.
I mean, even with the loss to Texas is one of the best. That one would hurt, but I don't think even if A&M did lose this game, it is not a season to be upset about. And I don't think Aggies would be upset about this season because even with the loss to Texas, they can turn around and be like, well, look who's in the playoffs and look who's not, most likely.
I don't want to go down this road. I hope we don't have to, but if we do, if the Aggies don't win, they're going to be hosting a home playoff game. And look, that's the path Ohio State took last year. And I'm not saying that they're that
Texas
team.
took that path last year, and they won 2 playoff games,
Sure. And almost
they
won a third.
had a path to beating Ohio State.
Yep.
But some of that Sark play calling got in the way of that.
We've kind of talked about everything we listed here, and the one thing you just said is if Texas wins, the question will be, how bad do you play? Because we've had a couple of dust-ups this season. You've been pretty complimentary of A&M. You've bitten your tongue.
Because I'm going to call it how it is. Nobody would listen to this podcast if I'm sitting here spewing Longhorn troll BS.
So how bad? How bad is it going to be on me if the Aggies do not win? Because I'm just telling you, if A&M wins, I'm going to be like this. I'm just going to be happy. I'm going to talk very little trash. I'm just putting it out there.
Why do you think, knowing me, you know me, why do you think I would be talking excessive trash when Texas lost to Florida this year? Yes, a win over A&M will be fun. You're winning your rivals. You're going to be over your rivals. You're going to be happy for your team. But it is still not the season you wanted. And there's a bigger picture ahead. So no, I will not be talking excessive trash. I will be pulling up where you were calling your win weeks ago, saying last week during the South Carolina game, saying it's okay, we're going to beat you anyways. I'm going to call out you talking prematurely, but I'm not going to sit here and talk a bunch of trash about how A&M sucks, because guess what? It's a rivalry game. The better team can lose, the worst team can win. So that's just how it goes. I mean, the exception of this is OU. I will always talk trash to OU.
Yeah, I also.
But OU has not had the season that A&M has.
So you're saying your ambush last year was due to the season, the culmination? Well, I think that
there was not much that A&M could talk trash about our season otherwise, because Texas won the games they were supposed to win.
Yeah.
They lost. Their only loss was to Georgia.
Well, that was a culmination too.
It was a culmination of coming into the SEC after years of people like you talking down on Texas for being in the Big 12 and saying that they were not going to be SEC ready. And then Texas comes into the SEC in year one and plays for an SEC championship that A&M had not played for, being in the league for how many years? That is what culminated into that level of trash talk. That is now in the past. That was last year, so that has ended. And that trash talk was validated. Now we have to reassess based on what we have right now. So no, I'm not going to unjustifiably trash talk when the season has not justified it. So
you know what? I like hearing your format, your rules and guidelines of trash talk. So I appreciate that.
There is valid trash talk.
And hopefully A&M gets there. Hopefully A&M gets to that SEC title game. There's Bevo standing in the way.
Trash talk is going to be against the entire college football world, because you know who likes dogging on A&M? It's not just Longhorns. It's everyone.
Oh, I can't wait.
Everyone likes dogging on A&M, the cult. They love dogging on A&M. So y'all will get a lot of trash to talk.
Like you did, everything you just said, that you had all the infamous 32 files on me, which you probably might want to just, as a hobby one day, go dive back into and see what you got before this week. But,
you still have 7 wins Sark in there, and guess who has 8 wins this season?
I don't think you like the sound of 8 wins Sark either, but yeah.
But still, no. it's not 7.
That's true. No, listen, what you did to me last year and to Aggies with all the say but one, I fully intend on, that would be, there is so many people out there that just want to see A&M fall, A&M falter. It's going to be really
I can think of some of the Longhorn accounts that are going to get absolutely roasted if A&M wins. I can pick them out on one hand, and most of them just tweet out obnoxious stuff that I would never personally tweet out, because you know what? I don't like getting bookmarked. So I try not to say stupid stuff online.
Usual suspects. And listen, it's going to be fascinating Friday, because Texas, I feel like, is a generally hated team, success or just having a brand and then getting credit when you don't have success. And then
it is funny because people say that, and then they come to games and they're like, wow, I had such a great experience at this game. This was so much fun. And it's like, It's because the people you see online are not the people that are
Yes.
actually at the game.
Without
We are
question.
very, very like welcoming at our tailgates.
You were
The
with
Ravens
me at the
surround me.
baseball. You were with me at baseball. They were
My
great.
boyfriend and the Arkansas fan next to him were sharing zins and
Yeah.
chatting and having a great old time.
Grant would probably like Arkansas, actually. I feel like he'd fit in good in Fayetteville.
I mean, I like Arkansas. I visited Arkansas for college. My parents didn't want me to go to school there for academic reasons. But
be careful what you say, man. People get upset. Don't be criticizing that Arkansas
that's a
Razorback.
beautiful, beautiful campus.
It really
Very
is.
nice people.
I loved it there.
But if I could get into Texas, they wanted me to go to Texas.
Let's-
Not that any college education is inferior, but
I feel you. I get it. And look, I think there's some great educations in Texas, but you can't go wrong with the Aggies or being an Aggie or a Longhorn. They're just
Yes.
what's your pick? What's your vibe? Let's go through around the SEC real quick and college football, because really now it's coming into focus. Oklahoma, we knew they'd get it done against Missouri, but their one win over a give-up stick LSU team, OU's going to the playoffs.
yeah, which is annoying. I'm trying to say.
More so for you than me, but I did not think they would get there this year.
I don't trust their offense in the playoffs still. Their defense, different story, but I still don't completely trust their offense in the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, they score 17 this week against Mizzou, or 20.
I didn't watch the end of the game, but Mizzou also does have a good defense. So
Aggie scored 38 on that good defense.
Okay, yeah, that's a big difference. I think A&M would OU. So I would actually love to watch that playoff game.
You might.
I would kind of root for like a nuclear bomb maybe over either of those teams.
You keep saying that. This is the second time you've wished for a nuke.
I would root for A&M over OU.
I think. Keep in mind the nuke would get me too. So then what's your show?
Okay, I just want everyone to lose.
Okay, I like that.
I don't want them blown off the planet because that's very
dramatic,
very graphic,
traumatic
and bad.
So,
but I just can both teams lose? Is that an option?
Well, I have this weird feeling. I do think A&M is going to end up playing OU or Tech somehow in this playoff.
Now, against either of those teams, the Tech fan base would be more annoying after a playoff win than A&M.
Yeah,
way more annoying. Yeah. At least A&M plays in a league that
we will be annoying. You know that. I know that.
They'll be annoying, just not as annoying.
Yes.
There is nothing more annoying than those cacti, when they get a little pokey online.
They came at me this week. It was you.
You didn't even have it. You had a wheat girl in your mentions.
Yeah, it wasn't even a cactus.
Freaking cornfield girl in your mention. Not calling her that she works at cornfield. Yeah. She just had a little wheat thing in her.
Well, because she's a
Kansas
State fan. And as it turns out, as I find out, somebody else, an Aggie in the mention, said she dates like my old college roommate. Don't let her fool you. She's a closet A&M fan. I think he was exaggerating about that, but yeah,
I don't think she's a closeted A&M fan with what she was putting you through.
No, that was wild. I was going at it with the Tech fans.
Wait, is this an Amanda burner for Kansas?
I kind of thought maybe it was you, actually. Did you go in there and say, you know what, I'm just going to really give him hell for the afternoon, not Amanda. But yeah, and then, of course, the Tech fans all piled in and the Big 12 fans, and they're like...
Yeah, you don't want to piss off... I mean, I have my experience with a viral tweet that Tech fans did not like this year. And that's just one you just mute the mentions.
It is crazy. It
did have way more likes than it did replies. Tech did not ratio me. I ratioed Lubbock, so sorry.
They were saying that I got cooked in the mentions, but it was every.
I don't really think you got cooked. That's dramatic.
Thank you.
I have cooked you. They did not do that.
Thank you, because I'm thanking you. Yes, thank you for cooking me more than the Kansas State fan did. But the thing was, it's all Tech fans in the mentions. It's like
they get riled up and they do not stop.
Everyone's you're getting worked over. Cactus. Take your L and go home. Cactus.
I was on
like,
air in
what?
Amarillo. I covered 3 Texas Tech football seasons. I could not even mention myself watching my own team of a college I went to as a fan without them in the mentions. You're biased. You never report on Texas Tech. I was at every single Big 12 game except for a handful. And guess what? You guys didn't win one over 3 years except for Kansas. I don't want to hear that I didn't cover Texas Tech. I spent way too much time in that freaking stadium.
Jones Stadium.
Anyways.
Last time I was there, I watched.
Yeah.
Last time I was there, A&M won. The time before that,
Last time I was there, I watched Texas beat Lubbock, or Texas beat Texas Tech. So good way to cap it off. They thought I was bad luck. Maybe I was.
Jeez.
You're welcome.
Well, so yeah, I got the Tech Nation. And it's generally all in fun. They have honestly, to be really fair, unlike what some of them were real jerks about you, it always seems to bring out.
They were jerks to my face, even as a non-biased media member, standing, waiting for the media bus to take us to Africa where they make Media Park. I had a frat star come up to me and ask for a cigarette. And when I said I didn't have one, he said, okay, well, then you're just ugly.
Was it Ace Ventura?
I don't know. But
you don't know that movie where he tells Courtney Cox, oh, yeah, well, you're ugly.
It was that kind of response. I was like, what? I just didn't know what to say. I'm like, I'm an adult. I'm not even a fan.
That is a pretty disarming insult when you're just sitting there like what did you just say?
I'm just waiting for the media on the clock.
That's awful. Well, they were actually okay with me, but they're just relentless. It's just nonstop.
Just don't look at the suggested spam comments because then your tune will change.
Well, they don't understand about me is I'm there for it. Like if I'm gonna make if I'm gonna make the comment, it's because I'm just feeling like watching, everybody. It's like kicking an ant bed. You just like.
All right, let me just nudge these guys a little bit and stir them.
I just didn't know they were going to be coming from Manhattan, Kansas, after me for criticizing the Big 12, which I will continue to do. I still think I will say this.
Y'all will.
Yeah, I think Big 12. I think BYU impressed me yesterday.
Tech should agree with us at this point that your mark is one of the most insufferable commissioners that you can possibly have. And I just love that Texas won the Big 12 heading out of there. People were booing your mark as he presented the trophy to Texas, which Sarkisian didn't agree with, but I'm sure Sarkisian laughed about that a little bit later.
The Big 12 might be better. And by the way, the fact that this person in there too said they live rent-free in my head, this segment probably
isn't helping that.
Yeah, we might not want to clip that. ACC, the Big 12 might be better. I haven't thought about this, so this might be a stupid statement.
I think the Big 12's a little better than the ACC.
It might be. The ACC sucks.
But that's not a hard thing to do.
No. I mean, and SMU might come out of there. SMU might very well be in the college football playoff for a second year in a row. And listen, if A&M doesn't beat Texas, that could be that 6-11 game in College Station, which would be wild to think about.
Maybe if Texas doesn't make it, I'll toss on my blue and red and go cheer for my city.
You may as well. You got to do something. But
ponies, Mustang ponies.
Ponies, yeah. Mustangs, ponies, both.
Yeah, Mustangs,
Haynes
ponies.
King and Georgia Tech got thumped at home.
I watched that.
That was last night, which I think cost you the weekly pick'em, by the way. But that is that conference. It is pitiful.
It's weird.
Duke might come out of it. SMU might come out of it. It is a really bad conference. Duke was barely good enough to beat North Carolina yesterday. So anyway, we'll follow that closely. They're going to get a team in there that really has no business, which does suck because there are going to be good teams from the Big 12 and the Pac-12 that are not going to be in this playoff because an ACC team's going to be in there.
I think there will be teams that are better than the teams in this playoff left out of the playoff.
No question.
But that is just the structure we're currently in.
Yeah, and I hate it.
I do think if Texas is left out of the playoffs, if Texas beats A&M and is left out of the playoff, I think they'll be better than the bottom two teams that are in the playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
So but that's just how it is. It's just then you can't complain about it because it's just how it is. Maybe it'll change one day, but
The
you know what you have to do to get in, and you didn't do it.
The Notre Dame Miami ones, everyone's going to be talking about again Tuesday night. This thing comes out Tuesday morning, so later in the day, all anyone's going to be talking about is, did Miami close enough gap to get in the pod where they are compared directly with Notre Dame? And if they do, but I got news from Miami. You better watch out for Pitt. If you think you're just going to roll over Pitt, I think you got another thing coming. I think that game's...
Pitt did this weekend, so
don't worry too much about where Notre Dame is, because you might be sitting at 9-3 and out of the whole thing altogether. Speaking of 9-3, USC lost their third, out. See you later, Lincoln Riley.
That helps Texas a little bit.
Yep. Oregon impressed. Oregon, I'll give Oregon credit. That was the first time this year that I said, okay, the Ducks look good.
Why did I pick Lincoln Riley again? Can't trust that guy.
You can't pick Lincoln. Somebody, I want you to look up a clip. Somebody went into his press conference.
I saw this.
Yeah, this is such trash. And this is what I hate about this and social media, Twitter, TikTok, all these people like USC, get their asses out of your press. Oregon, get their asses out of your press room if they're going to ask questions like that kid did, I assume as a kid, to Lincoln Riley.
I wonder if it's come out who asked it.
He said, did you see the game day sign that said extend Lincoln Riley, and basically said, how does it feel to know that they think you're so non-threatening that they want you to stay there? And I applaud, I don't do this often, but I applaud Lincoln Riley for ripping that person and saying, that's not a constructive question. That doesn't give you anything for a story. And like, as a person who has been in those press rooms as like a lot of times the only woman in those press rooms and scared to ask a question, it baffles me that somebody would use the opportunity to ask the head coach of a football program like USC a question about a college football game day sign. Like, this is why I feel sometimes I don't want to put a barrier to entry for covering sports, but there is a difference between a person who went to journalism school and took media ethics classes versus somebody who just has a microphone they bought off Amazon and joined a program, an outlet, a outlet. Diego Pavia, thoughts? I think he's playing the last few weeks as well.
You want my thoughts on Pavia?
No. I think he's playing.
He's a good quarterback. I'm not denying him as a good quarterback. I have personality issues with him, as I'm sure a lot of people do. I don't like a overly cocky personality. I don't like a kid who's sitting here begging for a 16th year in college football
ridiculous.
Because he's scared to go to the NFL. That's the peak of my annoyance, I think. So the rest of it's just kind of the cherry on top of just like, what are you doing? It takes you, you might win a Heisman if you stay in freaking college football for 10 years. I would win a Heisman if I stayed in college football for 10 years. That's an exaggeration.
What position would that be at?
My knees are too bad. I do have 2 years of eligibility left.
What would be, I feel like you'd be you'd probably be a linebacker. No offense. And girls don't want to be called linebackers.
I played Powder Puff. I was a quarterback. I got ejected from Powder Puff twice, though.
For doing what?
Tackling instead of flag football.
That makes sense. That is the least surprising thing I've heard today.
The referees were football coaches that had seen me play soccer, and they knew it would get dangerous fast if they left me in that game. So,
yeah, that again, least surprising thing I've heard today. I think Pavia, though, since that fourth quarter in Austin, has been on fire. I do think he makes it to New York. I don't
think he wins. I think
guess he could steal it. I will say this. Unless like a Marcel Reed runs the table, or if Fernando Mendoza goes and beats Ohio State in the Big Ten title game.
Or if Tennessee completely upsets Vanderbilt.
No, I'm saying barring one of those, like if Pavia beats Tennessee and has another like 350, 400-yard game, Vandy at 10-2 might be 4-8 without him. Yeah. I will say, like, that's when I start to go, damn. But like Julian Sayin has the most insane array of talent in the world around him. If Marcel leads A&M past Texas and Bama and wins an SEC title and they're undefeated, or if Mendoza in the Indiana Hoosiers go beat mighty Ohio State, give either one of them that Heisman. But I will say this. I think the best player in college football, I think the most exciting might be Pavia. The best player in college football players, to me, it's Jeremiah Love.
Yeah, I think I saw you say that.
I think he's in there. I think Pavia's in there. And then you look at Mendoza, Sayin, and Marcel. And I know I'm leaving somebody out because there's about 6, 7 of them looking. I hate when I do that 6, 7 thing. It's so you can't. My guys out here and the girls, they laugh.
I'm too old. I don't get it.
The only reason I get it is because I work in here, and so I hear about it.
I mean, I'm a millennial, so I guess I'm just out of that age range that would understand.
Every time I hear it,
or I'm just not chronically online enough. Or my TikTok algorithm is different. So
yeah, that's what it is. Okay, and then give me finally before we do moving goalposts, where are you at with this Lane Kiffin thing? Where do you think he's going to go? I think he's going to go to LSU.
LSU Lane Kiffin will be fun. I think that will be fun for that program. I would be happy.
Do you like the way he's handling it? Because
no, not at all. Not at all.
I'm always this, Amanda, when it comes to these coaches leaving and stuff. There's not a good way to do it, especially with Ole Miss trying to go to the playoffs and the timing where I heard Nick Saban talk about it. You know, LSU's been without a coach for a month. Florida for a month. They're trying to make a hire. Lane Kiffin, is the playoffs at Ole Miss, LSU, or Florida's problem? No. But I know there's not a good way to handle it, but I know there's a bad way. And if there's a bad way, Lane Kiffin will find the bad way to handle it. And that's what we're seeing play out.
Steve Sarkisian did his best to make sure there was no, I don't know what your thoughts on that is of him completely going off on reporters.
That's the way to do it. Just squash it.
And people are sitting there still in the replies. Longhorn fans are still sitting in the replies. Oh, he's gone. Oh, what did you want him to say? What the hell did you want him to say?
I read that Lane Kiffin statement as he's gone. I did not read that reaction as he's gone. I was way more suspect of the Jimmy Sexton release before they played Vandy and that whole thing. I was way more suspect. Or maybe it was Mississippi State, whatever it was. I was
then
much
Desmond
more
Howard just talking out of his booty hole.
Then I was that, yeah. I didn't, and Sark's reaction to it didn't. It actually made me go, yeah, he's not going. Let's do moving goalposts, retreat, delete, and then we'll do our picks. And I'm gonna pull up the picks. What's this week? What do we have on? Give me a little moving goalposts for me. It was, we're all doing the win comparison, and it's Texas fans chirping about, we beat, and you were one of them, we beat Arkansas by this, and you guys struggled with it. And then I came in and played right back into the game because I'm like, well, they're on the road. It was early in the season, it was early 6 weeks ago. So we're all doing this moving goalpost thing.
Yeah, and then I could have also responded, well, which backup quarterback did you play against?
Missouri. Yeah.
It's just an argument. I think I tapped out. I was like, this is going to be an argument in circles, and it's not even worth happening because, different results have been against different teams.
You just can't do it.
I didn't watch the Arkansas A&M super close, but I assume you had one or two of those garbage time touchdowns that Arkansas wasn't playing.
It was actually the opposite. It was so.
One A&M fan was like, "Oh, Texas let Arkansas put 37 on." One of those touchdowns was completely garbage time.
Yeah, it was, and that's how
whatever.
A&M, A&M's been notorious this year for giving up garbage time touchdowns.
Yeah, what did y'all have one against LSU?
LSU, Mississippi State,
UTSA,
Missouri,
one of those early
UTSA.
ones.
Yeah, it was UTSA with like 10 seconds left, like a deep pat. They've been pretty notorious on giving those up. But what I was going to say is, the Arkansas game, they never had the ball with a chance to tie or take the lead in the second half. They cut it from 10-3. Marcel got a 55-yard touchdown run called back with a bogus holding call with 5 minutes left where A&M would have gone up 17. It was closer than the game yesterday. But again, like you said, that doesn't matter. That was all of us moving the goalposts around. And then I was like, well, also there was, if we're doing head-to-heads, there was Florida.
Oh, yeah.
And you could
Florida,
just keep,
I mean,
you can literally just keep going. And
yeah,
we
that
don't,
Florida game, I do think that Florida game just looked like a different team on the field. So
yeah. No, that's not the
call it
team.
what you will.
That's not, look.
That's not the team that's being fielded right now. That was
A&M's not playing that
what the hell are we doing
team.
in the O-line?
Yeah, A&M's not playing that team, and Texas isn't playing first half South Carolina. Like, it is, we know what each of these teams actually is right now.
Yeah.
And it's not either one of those.
It's just a bunch of post-game chirping where everybody's had a few too many beverages and just wants to yap on Twitter.
That is true. What do you have this week?
Oh, I have I already quote tweeted this. Your little tweet or delete, one of my favorite classics. When was that from? I need to do some research on when you tweeted that. Let me pull it up because I did quote tweet it yesterday.
I would wonder when. That would be a good question. Like, what happened there? I was trolling to a degree, but I also believed, like, I love Petrino, the play caller. Sadly, it's come true everywhere he's been except A&M. I don't know how much that had to do with, how much was he handcuffed while he was here. But that was kind of like that
was January 19th, 2023. So it wasn't right when Sark was hired. It was after Sark's first two disappointing seasons.
No, that was after January of 23 would have been the first playoff. Yeah, right.
No. So was it after the Washington game?
January of 24
with questionable.
No. 24. It was after maybe the Holiday Bowl.
Okay.
Maybe after it was when A&M hired Petrino, I believe, if I'm doing math right.
Gotcha.
So
and yeah, Petrino is I think the biggest thing is Petrino is no longer at A&M. 1, 2. Petrino did not beat Steve Sarkisian when he had the opportunity. 2.
That's what I wanted to happen. So and everyone that knows me knows, and the Texas fans.
So that is officially a hard delete.
We have deleted that one. I almost want to go like ceremoniously delete it, but I'll leave it up. Yeah, that's a delete. So two things that we can lay to rest now are that and the schedule smack talk. So
I almost pulled up another schedule one from you today, but I decided to leave you off the hook.
Okay, thank you. See, you're already being nice and it's rivalry week. I don't know what's wrong with you. All right, let's go into the picks because that is the real battle right now. It was 6-3 through 12 weeks, and this week you went 1-0. You went 1-1. You picked Florida.
Why did I trust them?
2-1. You picked the Sooners. 2-2, you picked Georgia Tech. 3-2, you picked your hometown Mustangs. 3-3, U of H and all their missed field goals you picked. You picked Vandy, you're 4-3, Vandy over Kentucky. You picked Miami, you're 5-3. You picked BYU, you're 6-3. And then you picked Oregon, 6-4 for Amanda. We're doing this in real time. I haven't checked.
Oh, you haven't checked? I thought you said I lost.
I think you lost. Billy picked Arkansas. He's 0-1. I picked Tennessee 1-1. I picked OU 2-1. I picked Pitt 3-1. I picked Louisville 3-2. I picked TCU 4-2. I picked Kentucky 4-3. Picked Miami 5-3. I picked Cincinnati 5-4. I picked Oregon. We tied again. Damn it. All right, so 6 wins, Amanda, 3 Billy, and 4 ties. And because of that,
we both have what, 6-4?
Yeah, and so because of that, you're still 1 pick overall ahead of me, which is again insane. Wow. So let's get after it. We only have a few more weeks of the pick, so it's catching you weekly. I think I have to win out. Or that's over, and the overall pick will stay a battle. All right, well, let's dive in. We're going to save the best for last, obviously.
I think we both know what we're picking on that one, though.
That's true. Okay, let's give scores. We'll start there.
I pick Texas. He picks A&M. We don't need to.
Spoiler alert. I'm going to pick A&M in that one.
I need to think about my score.
31-20 31-26. Weird number there.
Sweating it out there. I'm picking Texas 35-27.
Okay, so we're on opposite sides of the fence, but kind of think both offenses will cook a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, to the shock of no one, I think this one we're going to agree with. LSU at Oklahoma.
OU.
Can't pick LSU.
Unfortunately.
I would love to. It's impossible. OU going to the playoff. Let's skip a couple of these biggest ones and go back down. Cincinnati coming off that tough loss to BYU at TCU. TCU with a narrow win over U of H. Who you got there?
I'm going to go Cincinnati.
I'm gonna go with the hometown Frogs there.
Go with my hometown.
Yeah, true. I'm picking your hometown. I don't think they're that good, but I think Cincinnati. That was a pretty. I think that was a pretty tough blow for them to lose that game. That they were kind of clinging to hope. I'll go TCU. Clemson at South Carolina.
Oh boy,
Battle of the disappointments. Klubnik and Sellers. That was your Heisman quarterback battle, right? Two playoff.
Yeah, I don't want to hear anything about Arch Manning when you have quarterbacks like this that were. Yeah. There should have been something there, and Arch has at least grown versus the opposite. I don't know, man.
It's at South Carolina. I don't know if that matters at all.
Sometimes it does. They hate each other. These two schools hate each other.
I'm going to go. I'll tell you what. I think I'm going to go with. I think I'm going to go with Clemson here.
I mean, it would look better for the Aggies' first half of that South Carolina game if they pull off a win over.
That's true.
Clemson.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to go.
I'm going South Carolina. I have some friends I have to honor with picking their team. So.
All right, here's one. Miami at Pitt. I mentioned it a little bit ago. Miami at Pitt. Are you?
Yep.
They looked good last week. They did. I'm gonna go.
And it's home.
I'm gonna go Miami just because I remember what Pitt did at home against Notre Dame the last time they had a shot like this. I'll go Miami. Here I'm gonna pick a couple upsets. I haven't yet, but Ole Miss at Mississippi State. Egg Bowl.
Ole Miss.
Okay, here's my upset. Mississippi State.
That'd be crazy.
They've been competitive against some good teams this year, as you know. As you know, a couple other teams know that as well. I think the Lane Kiffin distraction finally catches up and
that could be an issue. Yeah,
starts to ruin their season, which I think is terrible. But I'm going to go Mississippi State, Vandy, and your boy Pavia at Tennessee.
Would Tennessee winning be an upset? What are they ranked?
I don't know the line. They're close, but it's probably Tennessee's probably a slight favorite.
I'm going Tennessee.
Let's see.
I think I'll probably be screwed over by that one. I bet Vandy wins, but
Tennessee's favored by 2.5. I'm gonna go
as a Texas fan. You need Tennessee to win this game.
I'm gonna go Vandy and Pavia. I'm gonna go. I just think he's got it going. I'm going to go Pavia on the road. They never beat Tennessee. I think they do this year. Slight upset, but I don't know how much of an upset that is. Georgia at Georgia Tech.
Georgia.
Okay.
Haynes King got rocks this week.
This is my upset of the week.
Did you watch Georgia against Texas? They were physical as hell.
And I watched Georgia played Georgia Tech last year that went into like 76.
That's a different team. It's a different team.
That was a better Georgia team, as you know, and a much more physical.
I mean, Georgia looks a lot different now than they did earlier this season.
I think Georgia Tech got humiliated this week. They're humbled. I think Haynes King's a warrior. I think Haynes
King did. That was not on Haynes King. He was playing as hard as he
throw a bad pick six, though, that killed him. That was bad. But I think Haynes it's 3 yards and a cloud of dust against Georgia for 4 quarters. And I think that's the upset of the It's one of the biggest upsets of the season. That's my pick, and that's me. That's where I'm going to try to make up this game. Let's go. Finally, the last two. Ohio State at Michigan. They have the recent
I'm going
history.
Ohio State. They get the monkey off their back. They beat Michigan.
I'm going Michigan 7 in a row. What they've won? Is it 6 in a row? Is it 6?
I don't know.
Nick, I'm going Michigan at home. They beat them last year. This is a better Michigan team than last year. It is a great Ohio State team. I don't think they're as good as the one you guys faced last year in the Cotton Bowl. And Ohio State hasn't played anyone in 8 weeks. They haven't played Oregon. They haven't played Indiana. They haven't played Michigan. They've played no one, and I think it bites them this weekend. And then finally, Iron Bowl, Bama Auburn. Who we taking? I don't.
This is
trust
my upset.
Bama. You're going
Auburn. This is my upset.
I think you just want that one because you need it.
I'm picking some needs right now. Nacho, we're picking some needs.
It's close. In my head, that is close. I'm going to pick Bama. I think Auburn. I'm not buying what they did to that Vandy defense and think that that's repeatable. I'm going to go Bama in a close game. So I don't know how many we disagreed with. It felt like a lot. We'll probably just tie again.
Yeah, probably.
All right, Amanda. All right, Nacho.
Say bye, Nacho.
We're going to try to do a little special one. We're trying to reach out to one of our mutual friends and get a guest on. If we do, we'll do a little 30-minute in between sometime this week. And then...
Yeah, if not, should we tell people where we'll be before the game for a bit?
Yeah, we were talking about doing maybe a little meetup. We'll tweet about it, talk about it, but something at the Fairmont earlier on game day.
Stay at the Fairmont.
Earlier on game day, because then I'm also going to go. I know Johnny is having an event. Johnny's having an event there down in Austin as well, pregame. That I think a lot of Aggies and Longhorns will be at, and then we got some real tailgating to do.
We do have some real tailgating to do.
I'm ready to get down there and get out early and meet everybody. So yeah, we'll start off the Fairmont. We'll get some details out as the week
We'll be leaving bright and early from Dallas to get down there. So
perfect. Me too. Actually, I think I'm gonna go to Dallas Thanksgiving, eat Thanksgiving, drive up to Dallas, do the night, drive to Austin. So we can do a little what's it called?
Wave on I-35.
Caravan. We'll do a little caravan.
Yeah, caravan down to Austin.
All right. She's Amanda. I'm Billy. We are
moving goalposts
and eating lots of turkey and stuffing or dressing, whatever you choose to call it.
Yes, and one of us will come back with a win next week.